Hello everyone and welcome to a new IK video. This is Kincaid from M14, and since a lot of you guys have been asking about the Alex Yesenshin March recently and wanted to make an updated version for this kind of March, so this is what we're gonna make in this video. We're gonna rebuild an updated version of the Alex Yesenshin March, probably one of the strongest marches that you can use as a free-to-play player and a low spender. However, let me explain what I mean when I mean a free-to-play player. So, for example, I said in a lot of my videos that Ragnar could be a free-to-play player, a free-to-play Immortal. Yi Chen could be a free-to-play Immortal, and Alex could be a free-to-play Immortal as well. However, the difference between Alex and Yi Chen is that Alex could be a little bit faster to build. Yes, you can purchase his fragments from the market. It's gonna take some time. However, 1 month in IK is not that long of a time. I mean, some accounts takes 4 to 6 months. It takes 4 to 6 months in order to build a decent account. So when I say a free to play, I mean the grinders who actually are willing to spend some time in order to build a decent account, who have the patience to wait for some kind of events to get some fragments from here and there in order to complete the Immortal. So this is what I mean by free to play, that it takes a very long time, yes. However, eventually you will build the Immortal, you will have him maxed out, and you will be able to use him in your own March. Now that this part has been taken care of, let's build our Alex Yesenshin March. And of course, the back line is Zenopia and Ken Emperor. Alright, so the premise of this March is that Alex is the main damage dealer. He counts a lot on normal attacks. He's got the highest attack speed out of all the Immortals in IK, and the skills we use on him also support this side of him. And Zeno with her exclusive artifact increases the attack speed of whichever Immortal she heals by 25%. And Ken Emperor increases the attack speed of all units by 25%. That's 50% attack speed that you can get from the back row. And of course, Alex gets 35% attack speed if you have his exclusive artifact. This is permanent. And if you have a nice rapid artifact that is maxed, you get a total of 25 attack speed from the rapid artifact. That's right now we have up to 110 attack speed in total. So if you use a skill such as Berserk, you can get up to another 10% attack speed. So we have right now 120% attack speed. And of course, there is this cool tech for Cavalry Immortals where it gives you 8% attack speed. So Alex right now have 128% attack speed. There's some skills that increases the attack speed for a little bit at the beginning of the fight, such as the blessings, the speed blessing and the word blessing. They are both similar. Where's the speed blessing? Speed blessing increases the attack speed by 20 or 30% at the first 12 seconds of the battle. So this is how this march is used, and this is how it is built. It is built around attack speed and Alex as the main damager. As for the skills we're gonna use, no, these are not the right skills, but anyway. But these are Alex's right skills. Wind Rage trigger a normal attack with a 55% chance with every normal attack. So there is a chance to trigger another normal attack, and this normal attack will have a chance to trigger the Assembly Charge and the Cleave. Cleave damages the 2 units that is closest to the target in front of Alex. So for example, if Alex is standing in front of my Alex here, so let's just say that there's an Alex in front of my Alex that is using Cleave, that means that this Alex's Cleave will damage my Zenopia and will damage my Yi Chen. This is how Cleave works. However, for Assembly Charge works similar like Cleave but with an additional target. It will damage Alex and it will damage Zeno and Yi Chen at the same time. That means that Assembly Charge can damage 3 targets instead of 2, just like Cleave. So this is how Alex is built in this march. We use Cleave, we use Assembly Charge, and we use Wind Rage for a chance to trigger the Assembly Charge and Cleave one more time. As for Zeno, I prefer to use the some kind of what do you say? What do you call it? The sustain skills for this march. So I like to use the sustain skills that gives this march some kind of life, like Oaking Guard. And aside from Oaking Guard, I like to use Vitality Touch sometimes. And as for the aura, I use Berserk. Berserk, as I mentioned earlier, it increases the attack speed by 10%. So this is very good for Alex. And it also have a recovery rate with every successful normal attack of 30%. So every time Alex lands a normal attack, there is a chance he will recover a 30%. He will recover some HP, which is a 30% rate, and there is also a chance that this will trigger again thanks to Wind Rage. So this is how I build Zeno for the free-to-play. And by the way, I'm gonna talk about the free-to-play version. And I'm gonna talk about the the mid-spender version where you can get some access to premium skills, and of course the high spender version where you can get access to even red skills. Because someone in our server recently unlocked a red skill for this march, and he has been beating me in arena. So this march could be very powerful with an additional red skill. As for Yisan Chen, I like to use Weakening Curse. Weakening Curse is a kind of a situational skill. It works only against other marches with Alex on it, but since there's a lot of people that are using Alex, Weakening Curse is still a good option. And of course, I would like to use Guard, which I don't have access to right now, unfortunately. However, this skill is very powerful because it protects the damage that Alex takes. So if you use Guard on Yisan Chen, he takes the damage that applied to Alex, which means that he gives an opportunity to Alex to sustain all these damages, and he gives him the life required for him to deal a lot of damage. And the other skill, I would use No Escape against anyone who doesn't have Fountain of Life. So if your opponent doesn't have Fountain of Life, I would definitely use No Escape. And of course, this place here, we will leave it empty because this belongs to, as we mentioned, Guard. As for Kin Emperor, we're gonna use another aura, and the aura I would like to use, it is kind of situational, and however, I'm not gonna use this yet because this will belong to kind of the mid-spender guys, because this skill, we do not have access to this skill either in the West shop or the KVK shop. So we're gonna use different skills for now. We're gonna use Energy Shield. Energy Shield is available in the West shop. It's gonna take some time to unlock, I know, but eventually you will unlock it. And let's see here, what do we have here? Malice could be situational as well against marches that counts on crit. It is a good aura to use, but we're not gonna use it for now. And let's see. We maybe use Sacrifice for a chance to increase Alex's damage by 15%. However, let's make a switch here. Let's use Oaken Guard here on Kin Emperor, and here we can use Wine and Dine. Wine and Dine is a free-to-play skill available after Conquest, and it increases the damage of whichever Zenobia heals by 30%. So if she healed Alex, that means that Alex's damage will be increased by 30% for 6 seconds, I believe. It is not mentioned here, but I remember the last time I did some tests with this skill, the buff lasted for 6 seconds, which is quite decent because Vitality touch can be triggered every 6 seconds. So if the Vitality touch kept healing Alex, or if Zeno kept healing Alex with her ultimate skill, that means that he will have the perma 30% damage increase, which is nice. And here we used Oaking Guard, and the last skill we can use Resist as a situational skill, and we can of course use Energy Suppression. Energy Suppression works against most of the marches except the marches that has Alex on it, because Alex doesn't have energy. However, it is actually very useful in most situations, and it is a free-to-play skill, so it is actually great use. So this is the free-to-play version of this march. You don't need to spend on any of these skills. There is a way or a workaround to get the skills for free, and it requires some time, it requires some grinding, as I mentioned, so you gotta be patient when building this march, because as well the Yisan Chen is gonna take some time to build him. Alright, so let's talk about the mid-spender version of this March. We can actually replace the energy suppression for a skill such as Master Ages. Master Ages is actually a very powerful skill against mages. So if you're up against a strong water march that has Merlin, a strong uh, shadow march that has Himiko, or an earth Himiko march, or a march that has Empress Wu with a very high damage, then Master Ages is probably one of the best skills that you can use against this march. It reduces the magical damage taken for all your troops by 25%, and that's it. It's very simple, very powerful, and very good to use. And I believe that's it for this march because there's not a lot of things that we can actually use. The options are very limited. So let's talk about the actually one last change that I can actually make to this march is replace Yi Sun Chen with an immortal such as Bjorn. I've seen this march like only once. I think there was a guy in server 170 who used this march, who used um, Ragnar, I mean Bjorn, and instead of Yi Sun Chen, and the results were actually very powerful. I think he was actually more stronger compared to all the other Alex Yi Sun Chen marches. So I believe that Bjorn is a better replacement for Yi Sun Chen if you can afford him. So if you can get Bjorn instead of Yi Sun Chen, do not hesitate to do so because he makes the march very powerful. Bjorn's skill is also very it is not very complicated. It is a bit complicated, however, yet very simple to understand. He increases the damage taken in an area of effect by 20%. So once he casts his skill, all the immortals affected by the skill will take 20% more damage. He also increases the resilience rate for your front row immortals by 30%, which means that it is for himself and for Alex, which means that there's a high chance that your Alex and your Bjorn will be very tanky against mages because they deal a lot of crit damage, and also enemies within the Scorched Earth will take 20% more damage. At the same time, our units gain 25% physical attack as life steal, which means that Alex will heal for 25% of the damage that he deals with all his resources, the normal attacks, the cleave, the simply charge, and the wind rage. He will heal for 25% of all this damage as long as the weather realm is active. And of course, his exclusive artifact reduces the attack speed for all the enemies by 50%. This is a nightmare for other Alex and Hani marches if there is a mixed march. So he's very powerful against the Alex marches and the mixed marches as well. So this is why I prefer to use Bjorn instead of Yi Sun Chen. So if you're a mid spender and you can afford Bjorn, he's very powerful to use. And the last skill that we can actually use as a high spender, or if you're a really good spender and you would like to use this march, then the best skill that you can get in the Tower of Knowledge is definitely Knife Through Butter. There's a guy in our server who has been using this skill, and as I mentioned, he has been beating me in arena with this march, even though I have a lot of red skills and I have Apollo, I have Bjorn. I'm not sure, our arena just reset it, and I'm not sure if I can find him. There he is. There he is. He's using Knife Through Butter, he's using Wind Rage, and he's using a Simply Charge. And of course, he is using Weakening Curse, Guard, and Fighting Master. He's using a lot of free-to-play skills, the skills that we just mentioned. I forgot actually to mention Spring of Life. This is very good. Spring of Life is definitely a must on this march. So if you're running against, we were using it on Bjorn here. So let's fix this. We gotta use the no escape, and here we can use guard as we mentioned, so we're gonna leave this place empty. However, Spring of Life is actually very powerful. I totally forgot about it while I was talking about the skills, but the skill is very powerful because it increases the healing effects by 25%, and once you receive a heal, once any immortal receive a heal, he will reduce damage by 15%. And as long as you have Berserk, the immortals will gain heals with every successful normal attack, which means that they will have a perma 15% less damage taken for the duration of the fight. This skill is very OP. Even Mega Whales still using this skill in their marches. So this is, I believe, everything we wanted to talk about this March. I don't think there's a better replacement for the back row immortals as long as you're using Alex as the main damager, because as I mentioned, both can give Alex up to 50% attack speed if you have their exclusive artifacts for both, which is very powerful for Alex. And I think this is everything about this March. This is probably one of the best Marches you can use as a free-to-play player, as a mid spender, and even as a high spender. If you get the red skill we talked about, which is knife through butter, you can actually beat some mega whales or even some very high spender who are using chaos marches and red skills. My march is not weak at all. I know my Apollo is still spec 2, but losing to an Alex Sin march hasn't been in my book, so it was kind of surprising. Even though I'm using weak nickers at all times in my march, I still lost to him. Anyway, this is everything I wanted to talk about this march. So if you have any question, make sure to mention it down below in the comments, and I will read all the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and have a wonderful day.